The Pentagon and the White House have finally publicly commented on the situation regarding the halt of arms supplies to Ukraine, stating that they will present United States President Donald Trump with options for continuing military assistance. They say that the suspension of aid itself should not critically affect the security situation in Ukraine, and that Trump will simply offer Ukraine a new form of support. Well, as for what exactly that will be, that's what we'll discuss with you in this episode. In addition, there has been some confusion in Washington itself, because while the Pentagon admits to suspending aid to Ukraine, the United States State Department insists that no such suspension has actually taken place. And now a phone conversation between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky is scheduled for tomorrow, where they will discuss how exactly the United States is now prepared to provide military aid to Ukraine. And in this episode, we will analyze the whole situation with you constructively. What exactly is known about the suspension of aid at the moment and what changes are planned? My name is Alexei Pechi. Today is July 3rd. Next, everything in order. But before we begin, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave any comment, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pechi News. The link is in the description of this video. I'll begin with the currently known facts. Weapons deliveries to Ukraine from the United States stopped on the night of June 30th to July 1st. There were no official notifications about this. And so Politico was the first to learn about the halt in deliveries only by late Tuesday evening. And they were also the first to inform the world about the decision of Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. Ukrainian officials say that all deliveries of American weapons have been suspended, including ammunition and even spare parts. Yesterday, for example, National Public Radio correspondent Tom Bauman published a list of weapons that were already in Poland and ready to be sent to Ukraine. But they were turned back as well. These include, in particular, 92 missiles with launchers, 30 Patriot PAC, 3 missiles, and almost 8,500 artillery shells. 155mm, 142 rockets, 252 shells for high-mobility artillery rocket system, 25 Stinger missiles, and another 125 anti-tank, 4 anti-tank grenade launchers. And now American officials are already denying this information and insist that the halt in aid is only partial, and in fact it's not really a halt at all. White House officials publicly state that aid was suspended not only to Ukraine but also to other countries while stockpiles in warehouses are being recounted. At the same time, it is still unknown which other countries had their aid suspended. The White House does not name them. The White House also does not comment on how long this delay will last. And this raises suspicions in Ukraine about the political motives behind this decision. There are good reasons to believe this, which I will explain shortly. Moreover, the decision to suspend aid caught not only Ukraine and Europe by surprise, but also members of Congress and even officials from the United States State Department. And now, the spokesperson for the United States State Department, Tammy Bryce, states that the United States' decision to suspend arms supplies to Ukraine does not mean a complete end to military aid. We have not stopped supplying weapons to Ukraine. This is one aspect, one situation, one event that has simply changed. As you heard from the Ministry of Defense, there are many other powerful options and efforts regarding the situation with Ukraine and supplying it with weapons. In addition, Donald Trump confirmed his unwavering commitment to the Patriot missile obligations. Once again, this is not about a complete cessation of assistance to Ukraine from Washington. This is one event in one situation, and we will discuss what happens next. After that, the Pentagon commented on the situation with the halt of arms supplies to Ukraine. And today, Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell stated that representatives of the Department of Defense are conducting an analysis of capabilities to ensure that United States military aid aligns with the priorities of Donald Trump's administration. Next is a quote from Parnell. The United States Department of Defense continues to provide the President with possible options for military assistance to Ukraine that align with his goal of ending this tragic war. The department is carefully studying and adapting its approach to achieving this goal while maintaining United States combat readiness and defense priorities. The United States will not provide any new information about the specific quantities or types of munitions supplied to Ukraine or about the timelines related to these deliveries. And this, by the way, seems to me to be key because earlier in Europe they also decided that all issues regarding the transfer of weapons should be completely removed from the public sphere. Nevertheless, senior Republicans are concerned about the role of one particular person in the Pentagon who had excessive influence on this decision. I would even say that he made this decision single-handedly. As is known, this is the United States Deputy Secretary of Defense for Policy, Elbridge Colby, who is generally opposed to providing aid to Ukraine. Even supporters of Donald Trump were irritated by this decision because Colby didn't warn anyone in the administration that he would suspend aid to Ukraine and other countries like this. In addition, as it became known, the decision was not coordinated at all with the United States National Security Council, whose role has been reduced to a minimum after the dismissal of Mike Waltz. And now the acting Secretary of the National Security Council is Marco Rubio. But since he is also the United States Secretary of State, he has plenty of work in other areas of foreign policy. So it's just like that quietly. Under Trump, they basically eliminated an entire area of activity of the United States National Security Council. Pro-Ukrainian Republican from Texas, Michael McCall, has already publicly accused that very Colby, and here's his quote: "I think that guy Colby, the Deputy for Political Affairs, did all of this." I'm not even sure anyone consulted Marco Rubio about this. There is internal division in the White House. Naturally, in this situation, no one consulted either the United States Embassy in Ukraine or Keith Kellogg, who, by the way, is Donald Trump's special representative for Ukraine. But this once again highlights the total confusion in the decision-making hierarchy in Washington right now. And this is already causing an even greater divide. Even some members of the American General Staff also spoke out against this halt in aid to Ukraine. It would seem that they, on the contrary, should be concerned about the Pentagon's stockpiles and so on, but even they are saying that this is nonsense. Well, and if you take into account that Donald Trump also spoke with dictator Putin today on the sly, well, that just adds fuel to the fire of discussions about the political motives behind this decision. And now American and Ukrainian teams are working on organizing a call between Trump and Zelensky. European officials who are helping with the process say that the call will be organized very soon. Well, now there is already information that this call will most likely take place tomorrow, July 4th, or very, very late in the evening Kyiv time on July 3rd. In general, the episode highlights Elbridge Colby's excessive influence in the Pentagon, and this is connected to one very important nuance that is worth paying attention to. Colby. He is one of the few officials in the Pentagon right now who is a career civil servant and has experience working in government agencies. Unlike other people who, let's say, came to the Pentagon from the outside when Donald Trump came to the White House. Well, Pete Hegseth, for example, let me remind you, was a television host, basically my colleague just yesterday, and now he has become the Secretary of Defense. And Colby knows all the ins and outs of document management that others don't even suspect. This allows him to push decisions through in such a roundabout way. And I admit that even Pete Hegseth probably didn't fully understand what happened because he's not that strong when it comes to document management issues. Colby looks absolutely right now, but he just launched an audit of the Pentagon's supplies, and that's supposedly why the aid to Ukraine was stopped. So if someone wants to put pressure on Elbridge Colby right now, it's going to be very, very difficult. Because de jure. Or legally, it seems like he didn't break any rules. He just announced an audit. They're just checking the Pentagon supplies, nothing special. Although the ethical question, of course, remains open. And so, an unnamed former Pentagon official commented on the situation like this. The Pentagon's front office is depleted, and most of the people there have no experience in public service. And the same goes for the National Security Council. But now comes the most interesting part. It is known that the very first suspension of military aid to Ukraine happened shortly after Donald Trump's inauguration. Let me remind you, even before the Oval Office scandal, it was undertaken by Pete Hegseth without Donald Trump's knowledge. He didn't even know about it. I'll remind you, the publication wrote about this in May. Interestingly, one of those who whispered to Pete Hegseth about the need to suspend military aid to Ukraine This is his former senior advisor, Dan Caldwell, who has already been fired. This happened after the scandal with the leaked signal messages about the strike on the Houthis. Even more interesting, Elbridge Colby is leading the review of cooperation with Australia and the United Kingdom within the Australia-United Kingdom-United States Alliance for Submarine Production. Let me remind you that during Biden's time there was a whole diplomatic scandal because Australia wanted to buy submarines from France, but then others intervened. The United States of America and the United Kingdom created such a military alliance to counter China and Australia. They refused to buy submarines from France and decided to buy them from the United States of America and the United Kingdom. Such a joint project, and now this Elbridge. Colby decided to reconsider cooperation with Australia and the United Kingdom on this issue. Some of Trump's cabinet members were surprised upon learning about it. Like, listen, this guy's about to ruin all of America's defense alliances around the world. Overall, so far it all looks like ongoing chaos in the Pentagon and the independent actions of certain individuals who are acting against Ukraine. And the sad part of the situation is that those who are acting against Ukraine are often, unfortunately, well versed in all these bureaucratic matters. And they can arrange everything in such a way that it seems as if there is no violation at all. I'm confident a solution will be found after this incident. The supply of weapons will resume, but Elbridge Colby will not face any punishment for this. Because legally he's kind of right, he didn't really do anything wrong, but ethically, of course, he did. But that's just the situation. And unfortunately, the lack of professionalism in Trump's team leads to these kinds of consequences. For now, I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this channel, you can do so financially with any donation. You can use the links and payment details in the description of this video or the QR code on your screens. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.